Welcome everybody to my channel. My name is Rainer and this is Rainier Books. Today I have decided, actually I decided it yesterday, but today I want to explain to you why I have decided to cancel an author, why I will stop reading works of an author that I actually wanted to read almost everything that he wrote, because I falsely regarded him, or still I might regard him as a great author, but I just don't want to deal with this BS anymore that he's sometimes doing. I chatted with GPT. It concerns the usage of the word, and I say it only once in this video, the word Negro. And Richard Ford is the author. He's, at least in Germany, where I come from, regarded as one of the greatest living American authors. He was born in 1944. He was born in the American South, and he got raving reviews for his work in Germany mostly, and that's how I got in contact with him. And I started reading A Piece of My Heart, where I met this work, which was his first novel, and then I sort of didn't feel too well about it, but I thought, okay, maybe this is okay because the book plays in a certain time, and maybe he sort of used this word because he wanted to embed it in its time. But I have changed my mind, and I discussed now with ChatGPT, the open AI intelligence machine, this word, and I said that I really feel that I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want to be offended myself because I don't want to hear and see this word anymore. And ChatGPT answered wisely, that's a thoughtful approach. Being conscious of not causing offense and respecting the preferences and sensitivities of others is commendable. It's important to prioritize inclusive and respectful language when referring to individuals or communities. As you mentioned, the term has the potential to offend people of color as it is associated with a historical context that may be seen as derogatory or dehumanizing. Therefore, it is generally advisable to use more contemporary and widely accepted terms like African American or Black when referring to individuals of African descent. By approaching language with empathy, openness to learning, and a willingness to adapt, you can help create a more inclusive and respectful environment in your interactions. That's what ChatGPT says. And I agree to the fullest. I started, you know that I read Canada last year together with Jolene, the bookworm adventure girl, and we both loved Canada by Richard Ford. It's a great novel, and he really knows how to create, how to build a story, how to sort of engage the reader and keep him or her along with himself in the story. And he's also able to create a world, to create a fictional world that is really telling us something about the human condition. But, I was reading A Multitude of Sins, which is a collection of short stories by Ford, which he published, I think, in 2001 or something. And these are stories that have been published earlier, or for this collection, between 1996 and 2001 by the Harville Press here in London in this edition. And I read until page 30, and I read on for about 20 more pages. And here on page 30 it comes again, and I quote, and it's the second time you will hear that word because I want to quote it. This conversation with my father occurred on Monday, the 18th of December, 3 days before we were supposed to go duck hunting. And for the days in between then and Thursday, my mother more or less avoided me, staying in her room upstairs with the door closed, often with William de Binion, or going away in the car to her singing lessons with him driving and acting as her chauffeur, though she rode in the front seat. It was still the race times then, and colored people were being lynched and trampled on and burned out all over the southern states. And yet it was just as likely to cause no uproar if a proper white woman appeared in public with a Negro man in our city. Oh, and there we have it again. And this hurts. I mean, Ford can always say, and I think he has discussed this in interviews, he can always say that, well, I don't mean it derogatory. He said also in an interview, which I might link down below, which I will link down below, of course, he said in an interview about the usage of this term, where he was asked by a journalist, he said, well, Martin Luther King, even Martin Luther King, like used it in his time. But in his time, Richard, Mr. Ford, in his time, and that was like 60 years ago, Martin Luther King's times, he used this word, yes. But once the language evolves, once racial prejudices evolve, once denominations evolve and change over time, and we find new words that are more appropriate, and especially that words are more appropriate for a minority, the minority that is being sort of coined with words that they don't want to hear anymore, that they don't want to read anymore, especially white people, not anymore. We should respect that and we should go on. But Ford keeps on clinging to that like a stubborn Southern man that he is, and says, no, I'm going to use that word because it's not racial and I don't mean it. I believe you, Mr. Ford, but it is. Look around you, what has happened to the world, and what do we think, and what does the discussion think about people who still are so stubborn to use this word? And even when he says, like in that interview, that if he and his wife Christina I love that, he dedicates every book to his wife Christina. Every book is dedicated to Christina. When he and his wife die, and they will have some money left over, he says in that interview, and hopefully there's not so much money left over when we die, but if there is, we sort of give it to the, there's something called the United States and College Fund, a foundation that supports Black and Afro-American people who are coming from poor communities and who want to study, give scholarships. That's beautiful, but why are you keep on using that word? It really made me say, okay, I don't want to read this anymore. I'm not going to read anything else until, well, not until, because there's no until for me anymore. I really gave it up because I think it's not necessary to use derogatory terms and racially biased terms that have developed. Yes, they were okay-ish 60, 70, 80 years ago. But they have times have changed. There have been new presidents. Many presidents have come since the 1960s. Many movements have come since the 1960s. And we should not use these words anymore. I mean, 70, 80 years ago, people used other terms that are not being used anymore either, as well. And we should really accept that. And that's why I decided to not keep on reading A Multitude of Sins by Richard Ford. And I would love to hear what you think. I will not pick up another book by this man. He is a very educated, well-educated man, and he is a very good writer. Very good writer, I still say that. But he's too intelligent and too educated to not know that he's doing something wrong. Thanks for this video. No, not thanks for this video. Thanks for watching this video. Write your comments down below what you think of my maybe overreaction of this. And see you soon in another video. Bye!